Hey, what it div, y'all? Let's get right into it. It's time to talk about Kingsmarch again, but it's mostly because I want to give you guys some updated thoughts now that I've had them maxed out for a little while. And before I get too lost in the sauce playing a character that actually can't interact with Kingsmarch all that much due to not generating gold, but I wanted to let you know what I actually did do with all of my gold that I was generating in here, because I think there's a lot of value, obviously, in shipping, but also in mapping that needs to be talked about, and how to like optimize using it effectively so you don't feel yourself being stressed out constantly trying to sustain the gold needed, as well as make sure you're actually getting value out of all of your gold and what to do with all of your gold. So, before we get into all the details of it, if you find this particularly useful, like in a comment, or a comment would be much appreciated. Subscribe to the channel if you want to support me, as well as, with the notifications on, you'll know when I'm posting more. All right, let's get into it. So, the main thing we need to talk about first is gold. Gold is a problem. Just straight up, you need so much gold to feed your wages. Right now, when I'm running my town at full capacity, it's like 35k gold an hour. And that's not that much. I'm pretty sure you guys are seeing the videos of strats that are 200k gold per hour or more, and that is insane. Don't get me wrong. But, 30k gold like an hour burns all that really quickly, and that's not including the fact that you're using all that extra gold you get to start rolling on workers, because workers are essential for making everything else more efficient, but then better workers also make things eat more gold, right? So it's a constant loop of problem that you're getting ready to walk yourself into. And so I have a couple major tips for you, which is one, when you do have excess gold, make sure you are getting better workers for the things that you are focused on. We'll talk more in a little bit about how to focus on things in particular, but make sure you're actually getting better workers, because it's very noticeable that, for example, my mappers are all level 9 compared to when they were like 9s and 8s, or 9s all the way down to 7s. It became very noticeably better when I had full 9s here. Or shipping got a lot better and easier to maintain as I just was able to start putting in low level people in here as well, right? Mining and farming and smelting all got more efficient. Even disenchanting got more efficient as the levels of my workers started to improve. So make sure you are putting money into that. When you are rolling here, by the way, I have found that you don't really want to pay for the 22,500 gold reroll. You just don't see enough level 10s with this method, and it'll just cost a ton of gold. So unless you are like actively just printing an ungodly amount of gold per hour, and you have way too much gold to do anything with, I would recommend just rolling normally. You will still see plenty of 9s and 10s this way as well, and you'll be plenty fine on getting upgrades. Okay, so that's part one of workers. The other part of workers is the fact that when we cover the strategies deeper into this, I'm going to give you advice on de-working people, like make them idle. Because here's the reality, right? Okay, what if you were mapping? If you're mapping, you're not using any of the other stuff. Like, your focus becomes on mapping. You don't need all this other stuff going. Maybe you want farming going to prepare for the next round of shipping that you're going to transition into. But you've got 3 full-fledged map devices going. Maybe they're taking 45, 50k gold an hour across the 3 map devices. You can just save yourself some stress by unworking people, or unworking people overnight that don't need to be working, so that you can, maintain your money a little bit better, etc. Make sure that you actually are like keeping an eye on what is draining your gold, and make sure it's actually feeding your goals rather than just draining gold for the sake of draining gold. Otherwise, you'll log in, find out you have no gold, and be astonished by the fact that you have no gold. Now, let's talk about what to do with all that gold, because the point of this video is to talk about converting gold into currency. Right? How do we actually get value out of our gold? And for that, we should definitely start with shipping, as it is by far the easiest way to get your money's worth. So you'll see here, I currently have 2 shipments out to go, and they're paused because I don't have any money in the bank at the moment, but like, there are 2 shipments that were out, and these are using what I call, what I've been calling to my friends, the small shipment strategy, the money farmer, right? Very simple strategy, probably best done not aimed at Kalguur, but I was testing something. I found that it was not actually worth it, but is what it is. We do what we do for science. What you do with this strategy is you send a small amount of each crop with some dust to a port, preferably a close one, honestly, because you're going to want to spam this out. And what you're looking for is a constant amount of rolls on currency items. Shout out to Waggle for figuring this one out in particular. His data on shipping really is what set up this strategy being like a prominent way of using shipping. The idea that you stacking a large amount of crop does not actually affect very much the amount of currency you get from said crop. It is simply just the fact that you put crop in that will give you currency items. And so by putting a small amount of each crop, it's just rolling currency for each crop. And then you use a little bit of dust just to get the number above 100k, so at least you get like a couple tattoos or a couple runes back for your efforts. The recommendation for this strategy is to make sure you are sending your shipments to either Ivanfell or Nagakanu, just so that they are, you know, constantly coming in and out. They will rotate on, with good enough shippers, they rotate in and out basically on a half-hour basis. You'll be able to go very fast there. And on the similar maze, remember we talked about de-working people. I would just straight up take your miners and smelters out of a job unless you are using those to prepare for a difference, for like a switch in strategy, or like, you know, your end of night shipments for a different type, which I'll talk about what I recommend for that type in a second as well. Maybe you're preparing for the next move, and so that's when you have the miners and the smelters going while you're doing this. But if you're just hard farming shipping, the quick sailing shipping, you can take them out. You could even maybe take out the mappers unless you really want those in there, right? You like that. You don't need much else besides farming and shipping to make currency that way. You'll get plenty of divines this way. I have gotten quite a few divines this league doing this method, as well as, you know, other meaningful currencies, some nice GCPs and like glass blowers and all that other stuff when they were more expensive. You get pretty good value out of doing this method. Now, the other major method is the large shipment. It's for farming runes and tattoos. When you really want some runes or tattoos for your you know, your character, if you're in SSF or you want to go to, or you're in trading, you just want to get them out, what you need to be doing is thinking about shipment value. And shipment value scales when you do this. And you just start dragging to the right. You see, we're already at 1.7 million. All I did is drag all my crops up, slap in some dust, 5.1 million. I could send it even higher if I wanted, right? Like we could go all the way. 13 million shipment value if I really wanted to. You'll need to have a crew that can reduce the risk so you don't lose a lot of the actual value of that shipment. But that's the idea. Stack shipment value and send it to an appropriate port. And so stacking shipment value, a recommendation that I will give you is to make sure that you get a match on your favored resource. So, example, if I'm looking to send it to Pondium, I'm sending them Petrified Amber and Blue Xanthamum up to their cap. Reminder that ores, such as Petrified Amber, count ingots at 5-1, which means in one shipment, I could send 20,000 Amber, 19,000 Xanthamum, and be done. Like, I don't have 20,000 right now, right, for either of these. But even just this shipment, that's like half value, half of each of what they want from me, is 1.4 million. So it should be somewhere in like 2 to almost 3 million when done correctly. And you would get a 3 million value shipment, which is a ton of runes back from Pondium. Like a ton of runes when this shipment comes back. You could do the similar thing to Te Anui and get a bunch of tattoos. Now, how you choose what port you send to is based on the resources that you have versus what they ask for. Like Akanu is only asking for wheat and pumpkin. So maybe you're just like, yeah, fuck it, I'll send them 53,000 wheat and 17,000 pumpkin real quick. Get a fat shipment of tattoos on the way back in. Maybe you want, maybe you want some runes, and Kalguur has the best arrangement for what you currently have. Send a fat shipment over to Kalguur. And that's how you get it. Make sure you have good workers to protect your shipment. Right? Because, as you add in higher level workers and more of them, they will begin to reduce the risk on your outgoing shipment. The other thing is, I kind of forgot to mention this in the small shipping strategy, but you can choose either of Rivenfell or Nagakunu for the small shipping strategy if you're spamming out the quick ones. And you just pick which one you want based on if you want a tiny amount of runes per shipment or a tiny amount of tattoos per shipment. Right? If you just want to see like 3 runes every time, Rivenfell, if you want to see like 2 to 3 tattoos or 1 to 3 tattoos every time, Nagakunu, done. And therefore, either way, you'll actually get a lot of value out of it. The value just might be a little different because one method is fed for raw currency, and the other ends up getting a lot of gear or scarabs, catalysts, jewelry, gems, etc. But also, again, lots and lots of runes and tattoos. So, prioritize as you will on either side. Now, let's talk about mapping. Because the mapping value is a little bit slept on, if you ask me. I think people who are mapping constantly find this to be very valuable. And the people who haven't been doing it very much because it's hard to get into, don't really understand how worthwhile it is. So my preface for this section is that you absolutely need good workers. There's a reason, like as it stands right now, I only actually have one decked out map device, and it's just because I don't have enough good mappers yet to make this worth doing for me. Because these are all 9s and they still are like only like, you know, 53 to 100% on T16s and can very realistically die in a T17 still. So they're not like even quite perfected, but this has been enough to get me value when now tandem with we can run out 16s, and that's a big deal because of the last upgrade on the mapping bench is that your tier 16 plus maps will have one of the 3 Atlas influences that we run in our normal maps, and that's a really big deal for increasing the amount of loot that they get as well as the types of loot that they get. I've seen Maven chisels come back. You know, I've gotten Icarus and Embers come out of it, you know, all sorts of, I've still gotten currency. I have all those puzzle boxes come out of these, you know, good gear has come out of them. Glimpse of Chaos came out of one of mine. I've seen a Monomu's Gaze come out of it for somebody, which is insanely lucky, right? The mapping rewards are a lot more robust and diverse, life force, etc., as opposed to the very focused approach of shipping that is very predictable, but mapping runs as a self-sufficient system. All you have to do is feed it maps. If you want to map, all you need is good mappers and good maps. And to that end, you could literally idle every other worker you have while doing mapping as your primary source of output. It, again, does require good workers, so make sure you are rolling appropriate at the shop, but you will absolutely see returns on your investment if you get there. And so my recommendation in terms of what you should be doing, I think, especially if you do not already have good mappers at the moment, I would spend most of your money on shipping, specifically the small shipping method. Use the small shipping method to generate currency to fund other projects, and use a large shipment at the end of the night. For example, you know, you've had a good play session, you need to take a couple hours off, you need to go to bed, send out a thick shipment or 2 to the various ports that will give you a ton of rewards when you wake up in the morning. And all the excess gold you get from while playing can then be directed into rolling for better workers for any of the various places. Once you have strong mappers, I do heavily recommend shifting your focus to map device, especially if you are in SSF, to really amplify your efficiency in terms of the amount of content that you're able to complete and the rewards you get from that content, because like I said, they can even run T17s and they do bring you back Uber boss fragments from those T17s. So you're able to just run more content without having to actually be present in it, should your mappers be good enough to actually do it. So that's everything for me. I hope you guys found this helpful. You know, that's kind of, that is not even kind of just, that is the goal here, right? That's why I do what I do. Thank you guys for watching. Hope I could be of service. Glad to be of service even, and I will see you guys in the next one. Also, if you know, again, like, comment if you found this video helpful. Comment if you have any other tips that are meaningful for other people, or just things that you notice, like I could like add on to even like my own strategies, right? Whatever it may be. Subscribe to the channel to support the channel and all that good stuff. See more of when I post. And in the description, there's a Twitch and a Discord that you can come stop by to hang out either with me or the community or both. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.